Welcome back, everyone. You are watching the Hurley Pro here at Lower Trestles as we say good day, and also we welcome all of our Brazilian viewers as they continue as we showcase an all-Brazilian matchup. Adriano De Souza, current number 7 in the world, and Filipe Toledo leading the charge with the progression here at Lower Trestles so far. And we expect fireworks from Toledo, but don't expect Adriano De Souza to go down quietly. As we can see, both surfers waiting to get that first wave in the heat. Priority open right now. Adriano De Souza, the consummate competitor, and really the one Brazilian that really started to lead the charge with a title talk. Obviously, Gabriel Medina now eclipsing that and having his best year ever. As we can see, a battle there, and it's Toledo on his backhand, beating out Adriano De Souza. First wave so far in the exchange, and Toledo looking back in form as we saw in earlier days of competition. So Toledo quickly on the board, gets some good snaps as he works his way down the line on the right. Now 27.5 on the clock, and priority sits with De Souza.
This is such a good heat. You talk about competitive juices flowing. There is a monster amount of testosterone out there. These guys both want to beat each other in the worst way. And you can see a really smooth little snake job there from Filipe getting underneath Adriano. And that's because at the beginning of a heat, there's no priority. And so Adriano will collect priority out the back. But it's a smooth start here for Filipe. A couple of big snaps. I don't think this will be a keeper for him. But maybe, you know, Adriano blinking first here with this smooth little paddle battle with Filipe, just sneaking around Adriano. I'm sure he didn't like that.
So Toledo, first one on the board. We'll wait for scores on that. Filipe Toledo, we look at the 19-year-old out of Ubatuba, Brazil. And the Brazilian force really being felt in 2014. A lot of focus put on Medina, but so many other surfers having their say in the world title hunt. And we should point out, Adriano De Souza currently number 7 as we look at matchups. And surprisingly, Filipe Toledo having the edge. Most important, you go back to the last round 3 matchup, their man-on-man in Bells was Adriano De Souza.
You know who knows that more than anyone is Adriano. For sure he knows that number. He's aware of it. It stings a little bit. The young Brazilian's got just a little bit of more X factor. So we'll see if Adriano buckles down, because the name of the game for Adriano is he's competitively sturdy with keeping his board on the water.
You know, a lot of surf fans, they're tired of hearing the passion of Brazilian surfers. But one thing you can always say about Adriano De Souza, he wears his heart on his sleeve. He's had that long battle. He's had some great battles with Kelly Slater over the years, and it seems like he's really grown from those losses. And you know, coming awfully close. You know, 9th year on the tour, he's been top 10 five times, and maybe feeling a little comfortable that the focus now is on Medina to get that first Brazilian world title.
A valid point. You know, he said, hey, you go ahead and take all the pressure on your hands. Looks like Filipe's having a look at this little one.
Yeah, Filipe Toledo just staying active on the inside under priority. He'll find a good lip to work with. And clean, staying with that carve as he drives down the line. Will he get a ramp on the inside? Big air reverse, and Toledo sticks it. And the face says it all. He is feeling the stoke here at the Hurley Pro. Adriano De Souza finds a clean runner, foam climb, projecting down the line, looking for clean water, and he can't find it.
Beautiful turn there from Adriano. Unfortunately, he couldn't get around that second section to back up that first huge turn. He was onto a big score. That's not going to be a keeper for him. Meanwhile, it looks like Filipe building. He's already collected a little 5.5 for that left. Nice fins free snap into that swooping cutty, and everyone knows how much spring he has. You can see him widen his stance just before he clicks into that full rotation, and he's known for that. Amongst his peers, they all give him credit more than anyone on tour. He can nail those full rotations with ease. A lot of times you'll see guys land backwards in a whitewash and then twirl it around. He is completely spinning in the air, still airborne, and now he meets the whitewash, and it's a complete 360. So it just shows you how much torque and speed he flies off these ramps.
Bring back the air show. I want to see him, Kersey, you add all that John. Look at just the stoke on that. So cool to see. Toledo taking flight again. Scores on Toledo's first wave, a 5.5 as we wait for scores for Adriano, and taking a look at the craft under Toledo's feet.
Yeah, local shaper here in California, Sharp Eye Surfboards, and it's a pretty small surfboard, 5'9". He's a light light surfer, very light-footed. You can see the volume says NA, but I'm guessing it's right around 25 as well. He doesn't need a lot of foam.
And it's really cool. Earlier in the season, Filipe took some time with Sharp Eye and got out there, and I think it was like 1 day of surfing, tried 35 boards, really testing what was working best as we check in with Pete Mel, who's with John Florence.
Yeah, thank you, Pat. So John, you know, showing a bit of signs of maturity there and holding back on that last move on that finish wave, knowing that you needed another score. Was that kind of playing into the cards out there for you?
Yeah, well, I fell on those other two, and I was kind of bummed about that because the one I like landed and then just kind of fell forward, and so I was just like, oh, I got to be smart and finish my wave, you know. And so I just kind of finished that wave at the end, and stoked I got a good second score on that. And then, you know, it's actually really hard out there right now. The rights have a lot of flat spots and like weird kind of steep spots, and so it's just kind of hard to like negotiate the wave all the way through.
And tell me, I mean, if your experience, you were able to compete here as a Grom, you know, and you know, did that play into how you surfed out here?
I mean, sort of, but it seems like the past few years I haven't like had a good run out here really, and so it's like, I don't know. I was thinking about it the other day. I was like, I swear I used to have so much fun out here when I was a Grom, but I don't know. I'm kind of finding my feet again, and it's been having fun.
Well, there you have it, having fun. So think about this. He's got Kelly Slater and the winner of this next heat in the next round, so that should be fun. We'll send it over to Rosie Hodge, who's there with CJ Hopgood.
Yeah, thanks so much, Pete. Well, listening to John's interview and, you know, chatting to you while we were just before this interview, they said the conditions are pretty tricky. Give us an assessment of the conditions in your own opinion.
Hey, the waves are fun. It's Trestles. It's pumping. But yeah, no, I mean, I enjoy surfing against that kind of competition. I don't mind losing, but I mean, it was good the first like half of the heat. You know, I kept him at bay, and I was fine to need a score at the end of the heat. But that back end of the heat, man, I got completely out of rhythm with the ocean, and he went in rhythm with the ocean. I made a couple mistakes, and I just can't do that. So yeah, I was bummed that I didn't give myself opportunity at the back end of that heat, and I can't make any mistakes out there. But you know, a tricky lineup, you know, might play into my favor, give Johnny less chances, and yeah, I mean, it sucks losing. I want to go out there and post 2 high scores, and if I lose, then I'm okay. But yeah, I really only got 1 on the board.
Well, CJ, there's still a lot of appreciation for your surfing coming into a lot of claps on the beach, so we're going to send it back to the booth for more live action.
Thanks, Rosie. Thank you, CJ, along with John Florence and CJ Hopgood. Awfully honest, always taking a little ownership there as we jump back out into the water. And Adriano De Souza trying to get things started here in a combo situation as Adriano takes a little airtime as well, brings it all around, all the way around, and able to stick it. And Adriano now doing a good job digging out of that combo situation. Some good snaps, clean cars, good variety there. Was it enough to climb out of the combo situation because scores dropped for that last Toledo wave, an 8.77 along on top of the 5.5.
Huge number there, judges, appreciating that full rotation, you know, a little above and beyond the call of duty for that air for Filipe. Adriano's gonna be right back in the mix. This is a well-surfed wave right here. Those are tricky little floaters off those whitewashes, but he pulled it off smoothly straight into that. Extremely wide stance there, but he grabbed the rail with his right hand, keeping that board in touch with him. There's another tricky foam climb, but he nailed it. So again, seamless into the cutty, showing some variation. Then he finishes it right here with another, fins out the back. Pretty progressive move there, so that this is easily going to be right there, you know, pretty close to that excellent range.
Adriano De Souza looking awfully refreshed. His best Trestles result back in 2012, 3rd place finish there. Took a little time off in between J-Bay and Tahiti, went to Kandui Villas and the Mentawais. Maybe working on the air game a little bit as well. It's looking crisp right there.
Well, you mentioned earlier at the top of this heat, you know, what Adriano has done to sort of reinvent himself now that there's all this new blood from Brazil on tour. And I'll tell you, he's really focused a lot on the big waves, the powerful stuff. He spent the whole back half of the winter in Hawaii, and he ended up making the finals on the Vulcan Pro there at Pipe. You know, so he's realizing, hey, you know, maybe I could work on the big wave stuff, and he's done it. So give him credit for focusing on where he needs to.
Always making a difference. Also a factor here at Lower Trestles is local status. Filipe Toledo having the benefit of that. For a little more insight, we check in with Todd Klein, Rob Machado, and Strider Wasilewski.
Yeah, I would like to do the proper welcome to Rob Machado. Yesterday we were welcomed by Sean Thompson. We had a special guest, the world champion 1977, from one legend to another. Welcome, Rob, and good morning to you.
Good morning. Those are hard shoes to fill, Sean Thompson. I'm honored to replace him.
Well, you definitely beat him in the hair category. We know that for sure, and it's great to have you back on, Rob. And you know, there's quite a few surfers from this area that are competing in this event, and actually quite a few guys from the international side of things that have actually moved to this area. As we look at some of the names, you know, we know that Brett Simpson from Huntington Beach, Kalohe Andino from right here in San Clemente, but recently moving to the areas Filipe Toledo and Jordy Smith, as well as Josh Kerr and Travis Logie moving to Southern California. I'd like to ask you, Rob, what are your thoughts? Why would those guys want to move from where they're from to Southern California?
You know, we talked to a few guys kind of about the transition in the second half of the year and the travel involved. You know, going into that Europe leg, a lot of these guys traveling from Australia, it's such a long journey, and guys just feel like this is more of kind of a central location. And you know, this is one of the most high performance waves in the world. Guys want to be out here producing some of the highest level of surfing, fine-tuning their boards. You know, it's just an explosive wave for these guys. So.
Well, speaking of explosive, one of the biggest maneuvers we've seen in this event, and one of the names we just saw who recently moved here, Strider, Filipe Toledo. Do you think him moving to this area has actually helped him out here with his aerial maneuvers at lower trestles?
Well, putting in the time out the back, I mean, the kid has got game. He's had game all over the world, but obviously putting in time out here, giving him the opportunity to bust turns like that, airs like that. I mean, this kid's, he's just got so much talent. We've been watching him for years actually now, and he's growing up into himself going off above the lip, and it's so fun to watch that guy just throw it up there. Those little mini finger twack claims are getting around. Adriano De Souza, actually, Adriano lives here too.
Yeah, and Pat Ross, one thing to, you know, let's not lose sight of, he actually missed Tahiti, Filipe Toledo, due to his ankle, but you wouldn't know it by what he's doing out there right now in this heat.
Not at all. Fresh off that success at the U.S. Open, and Filipe Toledo just showing local prowess here. And we were talking about how cool it was taking a look. Peter King's tour notes, a video that's up on the ASPWorldTour.com site, takes a little look at the family, the family life of Filipe Toledo. As we jump back out to the lineup, priority sitting with Filipe Toledo. He'll work hard to get into this one. Drives down the line, quick float section, projects out front. Quick foam climb there, as looking for a little bit more lip to work with, and he finds it again, no problem. Big reverse, brings it all the way around, clean landing. Scores dropped, however, for Adriano De Sousa's last wave, an 8.77. Climbed out of the compo situation, so now Adriano only needs a 5.5.
I don't know if these words match, but a tit for tat, you know, 8.77, 8.77, so he's right there. Give a credit to Adriano, you know, really raising the level there, matching those airs.
And we can see Adriano trying to work hard, taking a look at this one. It starts to stand up, so he'll take the bait, drives that bottom turn, and Adriano going to the air right out of the gate on that wave, wasted no time.
That was a sketchy looking air there. He's lucky he didn't reconnect with his fins. But let's take a look at Filipe right here. Nice floater maneuver, getting out to the flats. Another climb, waiting for that big payoff, and there he goes for the air rotation. A tricky landing there. He landed backwards in the lip line in the whitewash. It looked like anything could have happened. Maybe the tail could have purled. Again, there's that footwork. You can see sliding his front foot all the way to the nose of the board. A lot of the young surfers in the last 5-10 years, you know, really made that a new type of go-to way to cushion the landing on these huge airs into the flats.
Just under the 15-minute mark in this all-Brazilian matchup. Heat 9, round 3, Filipe Toledo and Adriano De Souza. De Souza needing a 5.5 as both surfers start to head out. When you talk about Adriano De Souza, started surfing at 8 years old and was competing 2 years later. It's an incredible story how quickly he got comfortable with the sport of surfing. And we mentioned this is his 9th year on tour. And Adriano De Souza can dig out of this situation, only needs a 5.5. Came back huge with the 8.77, Ross.
This is a really fun heat to watch right now. It just has that feeling that it could go either direction. Filipe is definitely going to improve on that 5.5, so you know, it might give him a little bit of an edge right now, but we're only at the halfway mark, so a lot of time left.
What do you make of Felipe's ability to stomp?
It's almost like John, you know, he's got so much repetition.
And Adriano De Souza, once again, the score he's looking for, a 5.5. Will he keep it? Board on water on that one. Opens up, big clean carve back to the pocket. Quick climb as he gets a little distance on this wave. Another big arcing cutback. And another quick casual cutback as it softens up a little bit, but he'll get a little runner on the inside. And Adriano De Souza, can he get the clean landing? He does. So clean finish for Adriano De Souza. Only looking for a 5.5, 13.5 on the clock here in Heat 9, round 3.
Pretty amazing stuff there for Adriano. He really grinded out that last air. It looked like for sure he would get bumped off, but he got it done.
We'll wait for scores. We'll get to those when we return to the Hurley Pro here at Lower Trestles in Southern California. Stay close. A stellar day here at the Hurley Pro as we continue with round 3 matchups. All Brazilian affair in the water right now. For the moment, Filipe Toledo still on top, waiting for scores to drop on Adriano De Souza's last wave. He needs a 7.91. Filipe Toledo, that 4th wave in the exchange, a 7.9 as we look back on Adriano De Souza's last wave.
Well, let's see if he can keep pace. He did great with the other 8.7, matching that score from Filipe. And you could argue the veteran up against the youngster. You can see how Adriano is known for this slice right here. Definitely a low center of gravity. Has that 90-degree in his angles. 90-degree legs. You can see his knees are always bent in half almost, and that creates a high percentage of lands. He creates, you know, such a spring with those knees pointing outwards. It really helps him with cushioning those lands of the big airs.
We mentioned this was his 9th year on tour, Adriano De Souza, in terms of his success here at Trestles. You go 3rd here in 2012, a 5th in the world back in 2012, but the success over the years, and he's always been close as a contender here.
Yeah, this suits his style. He loves to combine carves and cutbacks with big airs. You know, it's right up his alley. He can produce 8.5s all day long.
Adriano's pretty amazing when you think he qualified for the WCT in 2006 and has not finished outside the top 10 since 2008. Think about that for consistency, and you think that, yeah, that's exactly why so many people pegged him to be the first Brazilian world champ.
Believe it or not, it might be almost irritating for him, because when you're competing at such a high level, you're staring at that world championship trophy every year. So I think he really wants to breach that top 3 and fight for that title.
The gallery is at capacity here at the Hurley Pro. 10 minutes now on the clock here in Heat 9 as we anticipate getting into round 4, potentially 5, and then want to remind everyone, 4 o'clock estimated time of the Heritage Series. Brad Gerlach up against Martin Potter. Potts and Gurr back at it again, and you can feel the energy between those two. We really look forward to that.
We're going to have so much fun with that, and I just hope we keep half the cameras on the competitors area, because you can guarantee Mick Fanning, Joel, Kelly, every single person's going to be there with their own personal commentary of the heat.
Turns out Sneaky Pete is snooping around again in the lockers. What do you have, Pete?
Well, I've got, of course, Filipe Toledo's backup board. This is actually the board that he won the U.S. Open on. It's called the Game Changer by Marcio Zubi. He's a Brazilian shaper, originally from Rio de Janeiro, now living in San Diego. You know, Sharp Eye Surfboards, been shaping boards for a lot of the guys, and now for one of the top aerialists in the world, Filipe Toledo, who's in the water right now. Of course, some action going on with Adriano De Souza, and he's doing the same game as you would say, as Filipe. They're going for air for tit for tat. This one here is a 5.8, and it's 18.35, 2 1/4. Got a lot of curve out the tail. One of the things that that'll do is loosen the board up. It's compensated with a nice deep concave, so it gives it speed, you know, pushes the water out the tail. But again, when you're riding around rotating backwards, got to have a lot of flip on the tail so you don't dig it.
Thanks, Pete. The actual board, you're saying, from the U.S. Open that
Absolutely.
he was on. Yeah, and it's still in one piece. That's
Well,
surprising.
not really. It's actually got a buckled nose and just fixed.
Okay, I was going to say, as we check back in, Toledo opens up. Massive turn to start things off with on this wave, driving down the line as he gets to work and takes to the air as well. So both surfers going above the lip, scores dropping for Adriano De Sousa's previous wave. Still waiting on scores on that last wave, a 7.9. So now De Sousa only needs a 5.5. We'll see if that last wave by Toledo changes his score line. He is sitting with an 8.77 and a 7.9 under the 8-minute mark. This, by far, the best back and forth exchange we have seen throughout this entire event.
Well, we're going to dive into the numbers because they're actually tied right now with identical scores. So, you know, I'm not sure how they're breaking that tie, but this wave might help the cause for Felipe. Huge, for Adriano. Huge corked out air there. And it's amazing how they're really matching waves. They're synced up with each other. As soon as Adriano or Felipe catches a wave, the other competitors right out the back with almost identical moves. You know, I'm not sure I've seen a heat like this in quite some time. Watch this, air to finish it, just like Adriano. So again, these poor judges, they're gonna have to really pick apart and find something just to give that extra 1/10 of a point.
Sans the grab, however, with that one. Toledo looking awfully fresh. 7 minutes on the clock as we take a look at Toledo's 2014 campaign, and Pops is feeling it. He wants him to get to work as Toledo still on top, and we'll figure out the tiebreak as scores continue to filter in. And taking a look at his success or lack thereof, currently right around that precipice, that uncomfortable zone, the 22 cutoff mark at the end of the year. If he's not better than that, he'll have to rely on QS placings, coming off with the injury which he sustained at the U.S. Open, didn't show up in Tahiti. De Sousa, on the other hand, always in that top 10 discussion, and we look, the third place finish really gave it to Kelly Slater at the first stop at Snapper, but look at that string of fifth place finishes. That's how you remain in the top 10 conversation, Ross.
It's amazing. You know, we talked about how Adriano spent all that time in Hawaii trying to up his game a little bit in the juicier conditions, and then he had a very frustrating result in Tahiti, getting that 25th at Chopu, where he thought maybe, hey, I'm going to change that result around. So we'll see if he can turn around that sort of big wave attack in Hawaii.
So still waiting on scores. Judges really taking a lot of time on these last two waves. Priority sits with Adriano De Sousa out the back. In second in line is Filipe Toledo. And Toledo, you'd have to say, there's always so much focus on his air game, but he has been looking awfully precise on the rail game. And we mentioned a tiebreaker. Both surfers sitting on an 8.77 and a 7.9. It doesn't get any tighter. So obviously you're counting each surfer's best counting wave score, but in the event that a tie cannot be broken, the tabulator would then count the best as you go down the line, third, fourth, fifth, sixth waves up until the tie is broken. So you can see the more active of the two. So now it's starting to make sense here as we look at scores starting to drop, and it's awfully close on the last waves. We'll jump back in with Adriano, as it looks like he's eyeing a little ramp section on the inside as well. It goes a little higher, but way over corked on that.
Just went a little too big. He gathered so much speed there, realizing, hey, it's going to be one move. I better make it a big one. A little too much froth there. So this is interesting. Right now, Felipe is winning on his third wave with a 5.5, but a couple of scores dropping that are bigger than that.
De Sousa just got a 7 on the wave prior to that, and a 6.83 for Toledo. So now Toledo needing a 7, 4.5 on the clock, and the Brazilians living up to the hype here in Heat 9.
So this is a big deal. It's actually not in his top two, but Adriano's third scoring wave is a 7. Felipe's third scoring wave is a 6.83. Does it get any tighter?
No, absolutely not. And we mentioned, you know, their last matchup together, man-on-man, was round 3 at the Rip Curl Pro Bells Beach, where Adriano De Sousa was able to take down Filipe Toledo. But Toledo still has a lot of time, 4 minutes. I say a lot of time for Toledo. It can be, you know, 2 turns, and he had the highlight moment yesterday with 1 air and then a massive snap after it. So Toledo can be deadly, as you can see him wanting to hear the current situation from the live announcers here at the Hurley Pro.
Well, it's pretty amazing. If you really think about the waves that matter right now, they don't count. They're not in their top 2. It's just kind of a mind-boggling, but Adriano got the nod. He got the 7, Felipe got the 6.8. Adriano air at the end of his wave was a little more corked out. His tail was super high in the air. Maybe that gave him the nod.
As under priority, Adriano De Souza will have a look at that. What does Felipe Toledo do? Now, with 3.5 on the clock, does he go for the left, the right? Does he be overly patient and wait for a wave of good size?
There's 3 minutes to go, so that is not a ton of time on his side, but he definitely, if he can manage to find a set wave, it'll help his cause.
And you can see Adriano De Souza trying to get active and just increase his wave count, and atypical fall for Adriano De Souza, just gurns that big turn, and Toledo's dad has to be so incredibly nervous right now. Looking out, needing only a 7 at this point. De Souza on top. Can Toledo find the score now under the 3-minute mark?
It's pretty, so it'd be interesting to see if he got the news in the water. You know, he might be confused, thinking, hey, I have a 7.9 and an 8.7. Why are you telling me I need a 7? So hopefully he understands the situation.
Just needing to increase the wave count and increase your account. And showing some restraint, not down on the water's edge, as we usually see him.
He is, right now, Felipe Toledo's dad is scanning the horizon, looking for any bumps, any set waves marching his way, realizing he wants to optimize the last 2 minutes of this heat to get Felipe on the best wave possible.
You can see a few lines approaching as both surfers start to paddle a little farther out the back, and it's going to come down to the last 2 minutes. Some good bumps right now here at Lower Trestles. Can Toledo find the score he needs? And what we've seen so far from this swell, multiple wave sets. So whatever Toledo gets, Adriano De Souza is going to have a chance to come back. And it looks like Toledo utilizing priority. He'll glide into this one, opens up, big turn, looking smooth. Can Toledo get some face to work with? Quick cut back to the pocket, starts to soften up and then stands up on the inside, clean carve. And another wrap back to the pocket, quick rebound on the foam. And will he get a little air? He does, he swings it around, can't stick the landing. However, behind him, sets continue to roll in. What's Adriano De Souza up to now as we approach the 60-second mark?
Ooh, a tentative hand clap there from his father.
Now De Souza will have a chance to further his account and stack up a decent wave score, because up to this point, remember, all 4 scores matching between the 2 surfers. So De Souza just playing it safe, doing what he knows. Clean carves, hopping, trying to work his way to the inside. He'll get a quick float section, sticks the landing a little off, but able to regain balance. And this one connecting all the way through as De Souza potentially a little bit more solid in that 2-wave exchange.
Oh, that was a huge, huge score there for Adriano De Souza. He really kind of took the power out of Felipe's hands, I believe. Maybe Felipe just got the score. It was very borderline for that 7. But I tell you what, Adriano, I think he just bettered this situation. So that's going to make Felipe needing a larger number than a 7. He might have just capped it off. We'll have to wait and see.
We'll wait for the scores to make it official. Toledo has been a walking highlight reel all week long here. De Souza, you have to give him credit, stepping up to the plate and really taking a page out of Toledo's playbook.
Yeah, he didn't hold back. I was saying how he might get it done with keeping his board in the water. He definitely showed me. He matched Felipe with some huge airs.
So we will get to scores to see how it unfolded here in Heat 9, Round 3. Stay close. You're watching the Hurley Pro here at Lower Trestles.
Do you like that? Well, if so, subscribe over there and then watch more videos over there. And then tell us your favorite videos down there. It's a 3-step process. Do them all now.